Hey, what up, y'all? Back with new content TV. Okay, so Don Lemon, right? Lemon Juice, and D.L. Hughley, download comedian, they had a podcast. They were in a podcast. I think it's Don Lemon's podcast, and he was interviewing D.L. Hughley, and they were talking about the Kirk Charlie situation, and D.L. Hughley had some disgusting things to say about Kirk, and I know why. I seen some of DL's Hewley's comedy stand-ups, and that's when I lost respect for this man, and I was no longer a fan. He made a lot of disrespectful jokes about Christians. He made a lot of disrespectful things to say about Christ, and I get why he said these words in Don Lemmon's podcasts. And the reason you see those two pictures because those two are good friends. So I see why D.L. Hughley said those horrible things about Kurt, and he makes disrespectful jokes about Christians. Anyway, guys, I'm going to show you guys the 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 interview or the podcasting or whatever the conversation that they had, and listen to D.L. Hughley's disrespectful words, man. Y'all check it out. I'll come back with my
I
thoughts.
certainly don't believe a young man, 31 years old, should have lost his life. But Charlie Cook, Kirk, was a horrible human being. He said horribly incendiary things. As a matter of fact, he died. The very last words he spoke were basically putting the onus of gun violence on gangs, which is a synonym for synonymous with black people. He blamed the very way he died was lying about black people with his last breath. And I just think uh, the best thing I can say is that I hope he believed what he was saying. I hope he believed that lives being lost were worth it so the Second Amendment can persevere. I hope he believed that there should be a lack of empathy. He was parsing between sympathy. Sympathy means we have a similarity. We can Empathy means I have nothing to do with you, but I can still feel your pain as a human being. And I hope he believed all the rhetoric he espoused, because if not, that was certainly an empty, vacant way to live, and certainly a horrible way to die.
Speaking of, here is Charlie Kirk on empathy.
Instead, it is to say you're actually not in pain. So let's just a little very short clip. Bill Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that it does a lot of damage, but it is very effective when it comes to politics. Sympathy I prefer more than empathy. That's a separate topic for a different time. Here's cut 64.
Okay, so you said sympathy and empathy are different. It would be great if one could have both, and that means it sounds to me like he's saying if I can't relate to you in any way, if you're not of my tribe, then I can't understand what it's like for
Exactly.
you. Yeah, therefore I have no empathy,
It,
no
it,
feelings about good feelings about it.
exactly. Even whenever, this is just my assessment of it. When I hear a white guy tell me how much he loves Christ, I wonder who he hates more, because it wasn't a mess of love and togetherness. It was separateness. It's superiority versus inferiority.
Yeah, so you hear D.L. Hughley, pretty much Don Lemon best friend. As you guys know, Don Lemon is married to a man. He's gay. D.L. Hughley, there's some rumors about this dude. You know what I mean? And it's not surprising that those two having lunch together. You know what I'm saying? And those two are just talking about their in their own opinion, because those two can relate. You know what I mean? And anyway, so he called Kurt, right, a horrible person because he said that about the gun violence in the black community. Where is the lie? Where is the lie about that? As a matter of fact, I do agree with Kurt, because there is a lot of gun violence in black communities. That's a fact. There's gun violence everywhere, but mostly in black communities with gangs. Okay. As a matter of fact, so see, most of you guys don't live in California, especially LA, right? And I was told by a close friend of mine, right, that lives around the Hoover area, right, that there was a shooting there a couple of weeks ago. I said about 2 weeks ago. It could be a week or 2 weeks ago, whatever. That there were some Hoover gang members hanging in front of the a market, right? And you could see on camera that there were three thugs, three black gang members that came out of the corner and started shooting randomly at the Hoovers, killing two, injuring about three or four, or something like that. And it happened on Figueroa and Manchester. That's what I was told. Okay, and right after that, there were more shooting because it was a revenge shooting. So I think the Hoover struck back against the gang members that shot at their peoples, and it's a back and forth. So where is the lie at? Where is the lie at? There is no lie about what Kirk's talking about. See, when we talk about gun violence, he's talking about the evil in this world, right? We all got our evil in our own community. White people got their own evil, group of evil people, which is the racist people, the KKKs, and the people that were lynching black folks back in the days. You got that group. You got gang members in the black community, right? That's the evil group. You got terrorist jihads, right, in Muslims community, right? And yeah, you could go on. Everybody got their own group of violent people. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I don't see where the lie is at. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys a video, man, of as to why Don Lemon, right, and D.L. Hughley really don't like Kurt, and this is why. Y'all check it
Part
out.
of the problem, I think, with the hatred on trans people. It's really not that deep. Like, if someone wants to dress up however they want, that's totally fine.
Okay, so
and I think
I'm
that's
not
where the
preventing
hatred
you. I'm
comes
not preventing
from.
you from dressing up like this. However,
Like,
let me ask you a question. I will
go
flush
ahead,
this
go
out.
ahead.
So let's pretend you say you are a woman.
Yeah,
and
let's pretend.
I know you are a man, but I refuse to
But-
call you a woman.
Okay.
Who's the hateful one?
I would say you are. I mean, I wouldn't.
So
I
you're
wouldn't
gonna
appreciate
force
it.
me and
I'm
shame
not
me?
forcing
No,
you
hold
to
on a
do
second.
anything, man.
I'm the hateful one.
It's really just like common courtesy.
It is
Is
never
it that much
common
effort?
courtesy to lie. You do
Okay.
not become a thing just because you say it, you are the thing.
So-
And guess what? Nobody in the history of the species that was born XX or born XY and transitioned is able to change their chromosomes. Every
Yeah.
one of your cells is coded either XX or XY.
But that's
and it is an
where-
insult to women everywhere in this audience and across the country that's saying that you could just have wear makeup and dress like a woman, undergo surgery, that you magically become a woman. And
I think that's fine.
it is the abolition of women and is the
Yeah.
abolition of reality. And we see great unjust human suffering because of it.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why Kurt was unalived, right? Because he was speaking truth. Where's the hate in his speech? First of all, these people decided to come to his event, right, to have a conversation with him. And if they feel like he's talking hate, don't show up. I didn't hear any hate coming out of his voice but truth. He's right. Why are you trying to force me to call you something that you're not? You know? So when D. Hughley talking about empathy and sympathy and things like that, I get what Curtin's framing, because no, we cannot relate. D.L. Hughley, I cannot relate to someone walking around pretending that they're a woman and they're not. So what is you talking about, DL? Okay? No, I don't got no empathy for that. What are you talking about? Yeah, I'm not going to sympathize with you. You know what I mean? And indulge in your delusion and play along with your pretend game. That's what it is. It's a pretend. Let's pretend I'm a woman, and let's pretend that's what I was born off, and that's what. And no, I'm not gonna play your magical dream, imaginary land. No, I'm not gonna do that. If you are a man, I'm gonna address you as a man. Whether you dress like a woman, whether you want to call yourself whatever, I'm not gonna lie to myself and conform in your worldview and call you otherwise, D.L. Hughley. So shut the hell up. You know what I mean? Making all these jokes about Christians and stuff like that, man, and you talk to your gay friend on this podcast? Man, fuck D.L. Hughley, man. You know? Talk about D.L. Hughley, I think you're a horrible person. You know? And just because you hold a celebrity status, just because you think that Kurt is a horrible person, that is your opinion. You're supposed to feel that way, the way you think, you know? And I wouldn't even be surprised if you've been with men before. It's just, they've been calling you DL for years. What does that stand for? Is that like your name? Does it stand for, like, you know what I mean? I get why your name is DL, and I get why you talking to Don Lemon. It all ties together. You guys chewing and sucking on the bone on that table. Pause. No Diddy. You dig? You know? And it's a damn shame. Okay, so let's talk about one more video I want to address, right? It's when he had a conversation with this black man about fathers not being fathers in the black community, which I agree. You know, not saying that there are white fathers, right? That's not but the majority of fathers, right, in the black community, is rampant. And that's a fact. Let's not pretend that it's not. All right. But anyway, I'm gonna show you guys one more debate right here, and I'm gonna address it.
So
You know
you're
what I
saying
mean?
black
And
men are
let's get
getting
to
married
it.
and then leaving their
Not
families?
getting married. That's the problem. What I'm
What?
saying is the data. I'm
Sir,
saying 2 out of 3 black men impregnate women and don't stay with them.
Sir, I'm telling you that 54% of black men, according to the CDC study 2023 National Health Statistics Reports, literally says that 54% don't even have children.
I know that's a complete different stat. Everyone knows what I'm saying and not what you're saying. That's a complete different. That's like a.
So-
what I'm saying is that if you have a black child, which obviously exists for some reason, right? Somebody did something to make that black baby.
Okay.
2 out of 3 times, the dad will not be around. Fact. Done.
All right.
Yeah, it's only out of. Thank you. The statistics are actually out of only those who have kids.
So you got black men who are married also. They're not abandoning their children and families at high rates.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the vast majority of black babies are born out of wedlock with abandoned fathers.
Okay, so let's do this. Now, if that's bad for black
It's
babies,
bad for all. It's bad for everybody.
So then shouldn't that be your main line then?
It is actually. Everywhere I go, I
No,
talk about
when you
dads.
do it, you kind of focus on black men as if somehow we're the only ones that, that's part of that problem.
Well, no, but it is a black men abandonment issue, of course. I mean, would you agree that's probably the biggest issue facing black America is lack of dads?
It's one of the issues.
Okay, what is the biggest issue?
I don't know. I haven't kind of thought
That's
about
fine.
that.
I want you
I'll
to
just
think
say-
about it over the next couple of days. We as conservatives believe
because we got a lot of problems. But I'll
the
go ahead and go
breakdown
with
of family, we believe, is the original sin of what's happening. We think that truth transcends color. It's true for white people, black people, Asians, Hispanics. Final thought.
that. Okay, fine. Good question. Good conversation. That's just my thing is when I hear you talk about it, it seems like you're framing it improperly, and then people are here saying that I'm doing it improperly. But I'm a black man in America. I
That's
know
okay.
something about
I'm
it.
just offering you grace. I'm not saying that your number is wrong. Just saying that it's a statistic that wasn't necessarily relevant to what I was saying. So thank you very much. I
All right.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for talking.
All right, y'all. So Kirk said that truth got nothing to do with color. Nothing to do with color, man. And I hope you guys was listening very carefully. Where was the lie in what Kirk was talking about? Because it is the truth. He said it's a problem for everybody. Kirk said for everybody, but predominantly it happens in black community that there are less fathers, and that's a fact. You know what I mean? In my younger days, when I was in my dating phase and dating different women and things like that, most of them were single mothers. Most of the women that I've dated were single mothers with kids, right? And not just that, but you know what's crazy too? I know you guys know of Kevin Samuels, right? Yeah, the Kevin. Actually, matter of fact, I know all of you guys know Kevin Samuels. He talked about the same damn thing. Nobody got nothing to say about it. Nobody's calling Kevin Samuels a racist or nothing. He talks about there's lack of men and black women. And there's lack of men, right? That are appreciative, that are unappreciative in black communities as far as when the relationship goes, because black women walk around thinking that they don't need a man. So that translates to what Kirk's talking about, because the new age that we live in, you got a lot of women right there walking around independent. Their college degree is what gets them by, that they don't need a man, right? And that's why you got less fathers, right? In black families, community. Okay? Kevin Samuel, if you guys go to Kevin Samuel's page, he talks about there are lack of fathers, right, in black families. And then there's lack of husbands, right? There's lack of husband in the black community. Kevin Samuel said the same thing that Kirk's talking about, but nobody's calling Kevin Samuel a racist. Why nobody's calling Kevin Samuel a racist? Because Kevin Samuel said the same thing Kurt is saying. The only difference is the skin color. Now, I need everybody here to go to Kevin Samuel's page, and you're going to see that he talks about that there's lack of husbands, there's lack of fathers in black communities. Kevin Samuel said this. Okay? Nobody's saying that he's a racist or anything like that. They might dislike what they might hate what he's saying, but nobody's calling Kevin Samuel a racist. They're calling this man everything in the books. They try to call this man gay. It's always the black woman always try to emasculate the black man too. You know what I mean? You have women calling him gay. You have women calling him all types of names, but nobody said he was racist. You know what I mean? You might hear one black dude, whatever, calling him a coon or whatever, but that's like rare, you know what I mean? But nobody's calling him a racist. And It's basically tackling the sin problem that we got in each race. But to me, I look at it that he cares about the black husband and the black man being in the families, man. Because if you have more fathers in black communities, you're not gonna have this gang violence in the streets. You're not gonna have the Hoovers getting shot at the market. And I guarantee you, all those men that were standing in that market on Manchester Figueroa, I bet you they are fatherless. They may know of their father, but their father was never in their lives. You guarantee that at least two out of the five group of men that were standing in that market, their fathers are in prison or dead. So with this narrative, the reason they try to paint this narrative, this racist narrative on this man, because he's white, they try to discredit him because he's Christian. That's all. They try to put a narrative on this man. Kurt is not a racist, and Trump is not a racist. Because I done seen black men say the same thing Trump said, the same thing Kirk Flynn, but nobody's saying nothing. I don't want to hear it, man. The truth has nothing to do with color. You know? What if a black man was saying the things that Kirk was saying? Nobody would call him a racist. I mean, I don't want to hear it, man. Anyway, y'all, this back with New Content TV. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, man, D-Hill Hughley, man, I was a fan. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna come out here and try to like play with y'all. I was a fan of D.L. Hughley. At one point, I thought it was funny. I'm not gonna sit here and try to be like, oh man, because I didn't like what. No, at one point I was a fan. You know what I mean? Until he started saying stuff about, he started making jokes about Christians, and then you have him saying this about Kurt. You know, I lost respect for D.L. Hughley. I don't care what he's saying. Everything that he's saying is his own opinion. And all we do speaks facts. We don't make opinions. We talk facts. You can't pretend to be a woman when you're not a woman. You are a man. And for all the transgender people out there, you forever gonna be whatever you were born with. All right? And that's that. And for people that got a problem with what I'm saying, I'm definitely a Christian, but you know, God said to turn the other cheek. I turned my cheek halfway. It's not sweet. It's not sweet over here, man. Like, you know, because at the end of the day, people should be able to say what they want to say, man. And if you could articulate your disagreements without pouting and crying and being soft, address my points as a man. That's why you need fathers. Because if you can't address your point as a man, right, you got to go grab a gun because you can't articulate your words. As a matter of fact, it's probably not because you can't articulate it. It's because you can't refute the truth. And since you can't refute the truth, you want to kill the truth. But it doesn't matter how many people you kill or unalive, you can't get away from the truth. The truth is always going to stand. Anyway, y'all, it's back with New Content TV, man. Please subscribe to the channel. All right. Like, share, and subscribe. Same thing on follow, share, and subscribe. If you're watching me on TikTok and YouTube. All right, y'all. Till the next time.